What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode Eastern Conference Finals MVP Award. That's episode Larry Bird, and that's episode 33 for those of you keeping up at home. This is episode 33 of Shoe Booty Sports coming at you Tuesday evening, right on time. And we're going to throw in a quick plug for our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, Shoe Booty Sports is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series. Check out the shirt here for those of you on Spotify and YouTube. It's a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon, and the Rhino Ultra. You can register at rhinoraces.com, submit, run your race. After registration, submit proof of your results there on their website and receive your award by mail. They also have t-shirts, decals, wristbands, and more. Check out rhinoraces.com for details of that race series. Also, you can find Shoe Booty Sports on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, the Wisdom app. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel and all of our other channels on the other streaming platforms just mentioned. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Shoe Booty Sports. So we're gonna dive right in. Per the always, it was a busy week in sports since we last spoke, y'all. Boston took a. We'll go over game one real quick, but how much of game one did you see? Yeah, how much of game one did you see, if any?
Oh, I don't think I think I seen like the last half of the fourth quarter.
Okay, well, you missed a hell of a game.
I missed a lot. Yeah, I missed a lot.
Golden State came out throwing absolute haymakers. I mean, just absolute freaking haymakers. And I mean, Steph had 21 the first quarter, 6 threes. I won't go over the whole thing. Everybody's seen the game. But the moral of it, from the takeaway from it for me, was Golden State gave Boston their absolute best shot at home in game one, and the Celtics still found a way to win. Al Horford just went Hall of Fame level in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't miss a shot. That was the thing. They were hitting everything, and Celtics came away with a double-digit victory. I know I picked the Warriors in 6. You picked the Warriors in 5. But after that, I'm we're sticking to that. I am. I assume you're.
I am too. Yeah.
I'm sticking to that. But I thought after that game, I was like, that was Golden State's like best shot, and Boston took it and won by double digits. But the Warriors answered in game 2, absolutely blew out the C's in the second half, had their huge third quarter like they did in game 1. They did the same thing in game 1, but Boston just went cheat level video game code in the fourth quarter of game 1. They did not do that in game 2. They could not hit a shot in the second half. They couldn't get it together. It was not. I'm just going to say it. There's no polite way to say it. The first half officiating was very one-sided in the Warriors' favor. I heard a couple of streaming podcast services that had different things to say about it, and I won't get into that. But the gist of it was the Warriors. It was completely one-sided in the Warriors' favor. Draymond had like 697 fouls in the first half and 14 techs, what should have been, and got called for, I think, maybe a foul. But I just don't. If you didn't see, you've had to have seen it. And yeah, there's a couple instances of just Draymond barreling over. I can't remember the guy's name, just kind of barreling through him, and the Celtics guy got called for a foul. That was just one example. There's others on the offensive end of him just kind of shoving his way through 2 or 3 guys, and sure enough, and then, oh wow, Steph's wide open for a 3. I wonder, how did that happen?
I've seen a couple of clips of him doing his best impression of offensive lineman, just clearing the way.
That's what I mean, and that's what it was. And it was typical Draymond play, but added to it were typical Draymond antics, especially, and he does it every game. but it's more highlighted in the postseason.
Yeah.
But did you see the dust up with Jalen Smith where he well, first of
Where
all,
he laid
somehow
his leg
Draymond
across his face.
laid both legs on his back,
Yeah.
and Jalen Brown reacts to it, and then Draymond shoves him, and then does the Draymond thing he does every game. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's like, no, don't put your feet on his back. Like, if you don't want him to react that way, don't bring him to the ground, and yeah, put your feet on his back. He is going to do that. Like, any normal person is going to react the same way. And then he's like trying to pull his pants down, or he's pulling at his pants.
Was that the same play?
This was the same play.
Okay, yeah. I heard him say he was trying to pull my pants down, but and I just seen one tug, but
Well, that's what it was. It was just him tugging. But I mean, what else are you doing there? It's just typical Draymond stuff. The I mean, this
he's
is
not
stuff
blowing in anyone's ear. I mean,
that's true. But he does stuff like he's kicked dudes in the groin.
yeah.
He's multiple times. He slapped at LeBron's crotch when LeBron stepped over him when sure enough Draymond was on the ground, and then that irritated him, so he swiped at his crotch, and then they get into it, and then he gets ejected, and that's essentially what cost the Warriors the finals in 2016. But if you did see the play though, right? That
Yes.
particular play, you did watch
Mhm.
that. So if
Yeah,
you're
I'm watching the replay right now. So
well, if
that play
that
happened about 20 minutes ago.
that would have been his second tech. They didn't toss him. I'm okay with them not tossing him. I thought he should have gotten called. He shouldn't have gotten all the calls that he got that he didn't that weren't called against him in the first half. But I was okay with him not getting tossed there because I didn't think it was that egregious. I didn't think it was egregious or
No, he's
anything, but it
just
was just a. But you got to keep in mind, it was this stuff the whole game from him. Like, it seemed like every other trip down the floor, Draymond was on top of somebody on the ground. I'm like, hey, can they call something? Like, this is it was too much, and like, you got to do something to control it. And like, Steve Javy got on there, and they said, now as an official, are you mindful that if you call this tech, he's ejected, like, he's out of the game? And Javy was like, yeah, we're aware of that, and basically said they're less likely to call the tech, if it's going to be a second one. I kind of get that, but then again, why? Like, why should that make a difference? You're basically saying you're kind of giving him the okay to play the way that he's playing.
oh yeah,
That's
the free pass.
and the excuse is we don't want to take anything away from the game, but you're doing that by saying, I mean that's not going to benefit the Celtics by doing that. And I'm not a Warriors fan, but I'm not a Celtics fan. I picked the Warriors to win it in 6, as mentioned. So I don't have a dog in the fight. But that's annoying to watch. Just the blatant one sidedness of it all. It's not like the Warriors need any help from the officiating crew,
No.
and like they're not gonna get those calls going to Boston. Like, you wouldn't think, right? But especially with the Boston crowd, they're not gonna let them out of the building, the officials out of the building, if they pull that in game 3. But I was okay with them not tossing them, but it's just goofy for me to see just Draymond lay lay his feet on a guy and then get mad when he reacts and says, "Don't do that," and then pulls out his shorts. Like, what do you think he's gonna do, man? But this could all just be part of just Draymond just being the Patrick Beverly. Well, being Draymond. I mean, Draymond was doing this stuff before Patrick Beverly. I mean, they were doing it around the same. I mean, they were doing it at the same time. It's just that Draymond was on a bigger stage doing it.
Yeah.
So that's basically what he's doing. He's just trying to get in their head, get them off their game. And most of the time it works. The only time it backfired was the 2016 finals when that basically shifted the momentum to Cleveland and Cleveland ended up pulling it out. But yeah, that made me think just well, go ahead.
I was just about to say there's a replay or a play that just happened. Draymond looked like a running back hitting the hole, just ran over Smart, just under the basket for his fourth foul. That's why I was like, dang. But,
Well, and I didn't even mention the foul that they called on Jalen Brown on Gary Payton the second. It was on a fast break, and Payton, and watching it live, I can sort of see where the officials were coming from, just because Payton goes up funny because he's anticipating contact, and he goes up at an odd angle and misses, and then just goes to the ground. Jalen Brown didn't touch him. Watching it live, I said though that's not a foul, and then you see the replay, and it's definitely not a foul. I mean, the only thing that touched Gary Payton the second was air, like oxygen. That was the only thing that fouled him. And yeah, I mean, they did. The Warriors got, there's not another way to say it. They got all the calls in the
yeah, I
first
thought that
half
was a foul on Draymond, but it was actually a blocking a blocking call. So yeah,
on Smart.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they did. There's no easy way to put it. The Warriors got all the calls in the first half. And yeah, so it was frustrating to watch as a fan that just wants to see a good game because you can say it didn't make a difference looking at the final score, but it could have made a difference. I mean, they were a little defeated coming into the second half. It felt like, especially after Poole's like 38 footer, near half court. But I will say this, like the Celtics head coach, Udoka, I think it is, or sorry, yeah, sorry if I butchered your last name, but it's he's got to challenge some of those. Like I know he was keeping it in his back pocket, but there were three or four that you got to do this and just like get the officials to the replay and just point out that hey, you guys are way off on this. Even if you got to take it early, man, do something. Do something to put a stop to that or put a pause to it. So because it didn't matter in the second half, hanging on to those challenges didn't matter there in the second half. But that got me thinking. It just the whole Draymond thing. That was him and Steph. That was the story. Clay was essentially a non-factor, but he didn't have to be. Jordan Poole lit it up. Uh, Steph lit it up. Clay doesn't have to come out and score 20, 30 every night. But as far as Draymond goes, we'll go over his stat line here in a bit. But well, first of all, if you were starting a team, like you weren't, you were just starting your own team. Like, would you rather have Jalen Brown or Draymond?
Brown definitely scores more points, right?
I'm taking Jalen Brown. If it's just from a neutral, if it's a
Yeah,
neutral team, if I'm starting a team and I get a choice between the two, I'm picking Jalen Brown. He's obviously much better scorer. Draymond does things that the stat line doesn't show. I'm I'm ripping. I wouldn't even say I'm ripping Draymond. I'm just saying what happened.
yeah,
Um, he's a Hall of Fame player. What he does works for the Warriors, but my argument is essentially I don't think it works anywhere else. We've seen with Steph and Clay out what the Warriors are like without those two, with Draymond as the guy, and they didn't get in the play. They didn't even make the playoffs. They were like they were in the bottom tier of the conference. But that's not Draymond's game. if you're asking Draymond to be the guy, that's not going to work. That's not his game. He's got to be a three. He's got to be your number three, and he thrives in that role. I mean, he is like this is his stat line here, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But this is his career stat line: 8.7 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists, 1.4 steals, and one block. And it's like I said before we got on here, in modern NBA history, I don't know, about the Celtics days when they were winning 10 in a row or whatever. I don't know if there's another NBA player that is in the Hall of Fame with that stat line. Yeah, like Rodman wasn't a scorer, but Rodman also had I mean, he was maybe arguably the best rebounder ever, at least top like three.
Yeah.
Uh, but Draymond just he went to the exact right situation, and this is why the Warriors are what they are, the best organization in pro basketball. They draft the best. They just they know what they're doing. This what Draymond does fits them. It doesn't. It's not going to necessarily. Although they do have a ton of fans, his style of play isn't going to make them fan favorites. Draymond is a full on like heel. Like he's a full on like wrestling heel personality out there on the court. If he's on your team, I mean you love him, right? But yeah, if you're not, you can't stand him. But that's just and he thrives on that. So it's yeah, uh, but that's kind of my point. If I would take Jalen Brown over Draymond just if I'm starting a team, but Draymond's going to be a Hall of Famer. Maybe Jalen Brown emerges as a star one day and can be worthy of that type of discussion, but not, we're not there yet, obviously. But it's just interesting to think about if Draymond goes to any other team, how would it work? Like he could possibly have thrived with the Spurs, while Duncan, Ginobili, and them were there. He would have fit in that type of role, I'm sure.
I could
I
see
don't
that.
I don't know about the way he plays as far as because he's a loudmouth and the Spurs are not that. They're known for not saying anything. So I don't know how that would work exactly. But and plus, Draymond was too young to play with those guys anyway. So that's the only other situation I could see that working. Or but dude, just like dude. I don't even want to say lucked out. I mean, it's just I'm sure the Warriors had their eye on him. That's just how well they draft. But I will say something about Draymond's tweet from yesterday. Let me pull it up real quick. He is and he should celebrate this. It's a big achievement and let me all right, it's NBA tweeting out congrats to Draymond basically. For moving up to 10th on the all-time NBA finals assist list. And he goes, not half bad for a guy who can't pass. I think that was a shot at like Kendrick Perkins or something who said that he could pass the ball better than Draymond. But and you look at the list and like these guys were all passing to great players too, but it made me think like, I mean, look at who Draymond's passing it to. He's passing it to like the best shooter ever, one of the best shooters ever behind him.
Hmm.
And it's not that hard to it's just and they know he's not a threat to shoot, so they're not going to crowd him on the line. It's yeah, it's a good stat to have, and it's one that's going to look really good like further on that in history, later on in history. But I mean, come on, man, if you're playing with those guys, you should be having those kind of numbers. But be proud of it, tweet it, and all that. But it's a little for people watching. It's we know like you're playing with Steph and Clay. So,
Splash Brothers.
yeah. But yeah, I know that this is the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, aka Larry Bird, aka episode 33 uh, version of Shoe Booty Sports. It has basically been the Draymond episode because that's been the story. Um, so we got a game three predictions. Are you going to watch game three?
Yes, I will watch game three. I felt bad. I can't believe I haven't watched more of game one and two, but game one wasn't my fault. I had to go to a work event. And of course, the Airbnb or wherever they rented at did not have cable and somehow didn't pick up the game. So it
That's
sucks.
awesome.
Yeah. And I went
Um,
over there with about 10% charge and couldn't watch it on my phone. So
well, you were all kinds of prepared for that then. Well, game
it,
one was fantastic. I mean, it was a fantastic game.
yeah, that's the one I'm really upset that I missed. But
Yeah. Game two, you didn't miss anything. You missed a one sided officiating game. Draymond pissing people off. And yeah, the Warriors lighting it up in the second half. Boston couldn't throw it in the ocean in the second half. Like that's the thing. But that Boston's been doing that all year. You think they would take advantage of their size advantage that they do have over the Warriors because they don't have, Looney's their big. I don't know if it's Kevin or Kevon, whatever, because he spells it O-N, Kevon. So I'm not sure how they said Kevin for the longest time, and now I've heard Kevon. So I don't know. Looney. We'll just go with Looney. Like that's their big. But you would think the Celtics would take advantage of that. I know that their guy Williams, their five doesn't seem to be healthy right now. That's why they just pulled him in the second half of game two, just because it was getting out of hand. But that's one thing I would like to see Boston take advantage of. I don't know if they will though, because they've been playing the same way all playoffs. If their shots falling, they can beat anybody. If it's not, they're in trouble. And that's why they've had so many long series. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We got any game three predictions? I'll let you go first. They're in Boston. First game in Boston.
yeah, oh, I mean, I want to pick Boston and just throw my 5-game prediction out the window, but I'll stick with my 5-game prediction. I'll roll with the Warriors.
So you've got the Warriors winning the next three then.
Hey, might as well. I mean, yeah. Made the
Well,
prediction. I'm sticking with it. But if I was betting money, I'd probably take the Celtics.
well, series is tied at one apiece. Next two games are in Boston. I'm gonna go. I think the Warriors will win the next two. I think they'll go up 3-1. I think they'll win both games in Boston. But playing in playing in Boston hasn't been this big home court advantage for this Celtics team that you would think it is. I
I mean,
think they
that's true. Didn't
play.
they lose most of them versus the Heat? Like,
Well, they're like 5-4 at home this postseason, which
yeah,
I
that's
mean, tell me that. And when Boston won game one, that was the Warriors' first home loss of the playoffs. So I think Boston plays better in the more. I think they feel less pressure on the road. Like they don't have to just come out and like light it up at home. I guess they feel that kind of pressure at home or something. And I think they feel a little more loose on the road because not they don't not they're not expected to go out and just light it up as opposed to maybe at home. Although they haven't been doing that. So, but I got the Warriors winning the next two. I think they'll go up 3-1. I think Boston will win game five there in the Bay. And then I think the Warriors will close it out in six. That's how I always saw it working out. Uh, that's how I see it working out now. But that's how I see the rest of the series playing out. As far as and Steph will get his Finals MVP. He's had two really good games. He's shown why he's the best shooter ever. I mean, he's lighting it up, but he'll keep lighting it up if the officials keep letting Draymond play fullback there at the top of the key. But he won't. Games 3 and 4 will be better games than game 2 for a couple of reasons. Boston won't play that poorly again. 1 and 2, and this is the big thing, or this is just as crucial. The Warriors aren't going to get those. They aren't going to get all the calls in Boston.
Like you would hope not.
Well, no, for the officiating sake, for the official sake, I would hope not, because I mean, yeah, the Boston crowd's not going to. Yeah, they're not going to let them leave the arena if they call it the way that they did in the Bay Area. I mean, it was that one. It was that one sided. So yeah, that's what I got as far as that goes. And how far are we into this time wise? I don't even know. We went through that a lot quicker than I thought we would.
Yeah, I think we're at like 32 minutes or somewhere around there. Or no, we can't be over 30 minutes because we'd already have the time ticking down, right?
Yeah, we would. I don't know, but well, we can. Yeah. All right. So, like I said, we flew through that quicker than I thought we would. But it was basically the recap is game 2 was one-sided, wasn't entertaining. Draymond was the story. Steph lit it up, and
Warriors are still gonna win.
Yeah, like they're going back to Boston, but it doesn't matter because Boston just hasn't proven that they can protect home court, like Golden State can. But we are going to close part 1 of this episode out, and we'll come back with part 2, folks. Stay tuned.
Peace.